Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has bankai and chunin exams council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Divinejustice and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. The roars of the nine tails could be heard for miles around the Leaf Village. With each swing of its tails more shinobi fell, and with each attack it made countless others were left to be slowly poisoned by the demonic chakra seeping into their wounds. Summoning Jutsu. A large puff of smoke appears near the fox, almost equaling it in size. When it clears, a large toad with a pipe in its mouth can be seen, a giant tanto in its hand. Minato. Why is the fox here? It exclaims angrily. I don't know why, but we must stop it all the same. You know what to do. Minato says, and then flashes away. He reappears in a bedroom, standing over a newborn baby in a cradle. He carefully picks him up. I'm sorry Naruto, but I can't ask anyone else to do what I can't. I hope you can forgive me. Minato says, hugging his son for what would probably be the last time. He then unseals a brush and ink bottle from a scroll and draws several seal formulas on Naruto's stomach. Naruto giggles happily when the brush tickles his skin. When the last one is complete, he unseals something else, this time from a seal on his right shoulder. He clutches it in his hand and whispers something. A blue-white glow comes from his clenched hand and whatever was in it disappears. I hope that works. If tonight goes the way I think it will, then you will need that power, my son. Minato whispers to the bay, even though he can't understand what he's saying. He flashes back to the battlefield where the giant toad is still combating the fox. It now sports a large cut across one of its eyes, and that disability was making it harder and harder to keep the fox at bay. Bunta, I need your help with one last thing. Immobilize the fox and I'll take care of the rest. Minato yells to his summoned creature. He had already planned for this and everything else was set. Bunta jumped high into the air and made a few hand signs. Water style. Toad water bullets, he yells, shooting 5 giant balls of chakra-laced water at the demon fox. They strike it directly in the face, so it can't react fast enough to escape when Bunta lands on top of it. Faster than lightning, Minato appears next to his summoned animal and just as quickly disappears with the fox in tow. Bunta then puffs away, exhausted from his battle and in need of some medical treatment. Minato and the fox appear in a vast plain, many miles away from the hidden leaf, though they are not alone there. Sitting against a large stone is a woman with blood-red hair and a giant hole in her chest. She coughs weakly, though when she sees the fox, makes a hand sign. 9 orange chains of chakra sprout from her lower back and ensnare the fox, which roars in defiance. Minato, why is Naruto here? She pants out between shallow breaths. I have to seal the fox inside him with the Reaper Death Seal, it's the only thing strong enough to contain it. Minato says. You can't, I won't let my baby go through being a Jinchuriki. She cries, but then starts coughing up blood. Kushina, I have to, but don't worry, I've made sure he won't have to grow up alone forever. Minato tells her and then turns away. He places Naruto down and makes the hand signs. A small pedestal appears and he places Naruto onto it. Moments after, the air grows cold and the smell of death permeates the area. Behind Minato, a ghastly figure appears, wearing a white robe, a blade in its mouth and a string of red beads in its hand. Minato focuses on the fox and places his hands on the seal. Reaper Death Seal, he exclaims, and the figure behind him extends his empty arm forward through Minato and grasps the fox. In one motion it rips the fox's soul out of its body and into Minato, who directs it through himself into his son. Then Minato beckons Kushina over, using his last few moments in the living world wisely. They exchange a look and understand each other perfectly. Minato makes several more hand seals. A trigram seal. He whispers, sealing all of his remaining chakra as well as all of Kushina's into their son. The Shinigami's blade descends and severs what remains of Minato's soul. Kushina falls with him, her last wish having been made and all life having left with those last few whispered words. 2 of the greatest shinobi the Leaf had ever known were dead. 5 years later, Naruto has shown an incredible mental growth rate, putting him at 3 years above his age level at the time being, meaning he is at about a 2nd grade level. For those who got what happened with the thing Minato had that glowed, don't spoil it, please, and I hope you will now understand why things happen as they do. Naruto raced down the alley as fast as his 5-year-old legs could carry him, hoping against hope that he would escape the mob that was chasing him. He turned a tight corner and promptly ran into a wall. He picked himself up and started climbing said wall, his fingers slipping into the smallest cracks, finding every possible place to put his hands and feet. There it is, get it before it escapes. Naruto hears from below him. He's about 10 feet up the wall, about halfway to freedom, and the mob catches up to him and begins throwing whatever they can find to knock him off of his unsteady purchase. The kunai embeds itself in his left shoulder, which makes him lose his grip with that hand. Unfortunately that hand was the only thing holding him up at that time, as his foot had slipped. He scrabbles to find a purchase in the wall before he falls, but before he can, more things hit him and a kunai hits him in the thigh. He falls in front of two people wearing chunin vests and holding kunai. "Now we can have our revenge for what you did to our family. Any of them says. "You took our sister's sight, so we'll take yours now. The other says. They plunge the kunai knives into Naruto's eyes, not deep enough to kill him, but enough to destroy his eyes. He screams in pain for a moment before he blacks out. When he next opens his eyes, he feels no pain, but all he can see is darkness. The light appears in that darkness, in front of him, and then splits into three. Each of the lights takes on a form. One is standing roughly 2 stories tall, he has red skin and blue hair which sticks up. He carries both a bolas and a sword. The second is humanoid, having black hair and tan skin, his eyes are closed, but he can faintly hear a slight buzz-like noise coming from all around him. The third is female, of average height with perfectly white skin and warm brown eyes. "Who are you, and where am I?" Naruto asks, scared of the people before him. "You are in your mind, boy, but we must finish here quickly if we are to keep your body alive." The second man says, the buzz still around him. At Naruto's confused expression the woman begins to talk. "We are a part of your bloodline, Naruto. Your father was in possession of a very rare bloodline, as was your mother, though the bloodlines are different. We are part of your father's side's bloodline, the blood of the Shinigami. It allows you to turn different aspects of your soul into swords. We are the spirits of the blades that you will possess." She says, her voice pleasant, and when she speaks Naruto can smell some kind of perfume around her. Naruto just stands there for a minute processing what had just happened. "Had got your tongue, boy?" the larger man asks, fire coming from his mouth, though his tone was calm. "Time is of the essence, we must see if he's ready or he will die along with the bloodline gift." The second man says. "Okay. Naruto, we are going to introduce ourselves, if you can hear any of our names, please say them after. My name is," she says, though Naruto can't hear the end. "I am T," the large man says, though again Naruto doesn't hear the end. "I am Suzumashi." The last man says, his eyes never having once opened. "Suzumashi." Naruto whispers, and then has a warm feeling spread through his body. The man glows, turning back into the light and then into a sword in Naruto's hand. It looks like a normal katana, and the tsuba has a teardrop shape, with the base of the drop arcing over the top of the blade and the point of the drop pointing below the cutting edge. A row of several tiny teardrop-shaped holes decorates the bottom of the curve, and a small ring, approximately 2 in diameter, dangles off the tip of the teardrop. He is suddenly sucked out of the space he was in and back to reality. The pain in his eyes returns, as scathing as before, though now Suzumashi is in his hand. The cloud covers Naruto's mind and he moves without telling himself to. He tries to move, but it was like someone else had hijacked his body and he could only watch. "Cry, Suzumashi." He whispers, and his blade produces a high-pitched tone, though Naruto remains unaffected. The mob falls to the ground, all unconscious, and Naruto follows suit, the cloud lifting from his mind and the pain finally consuming him. Several minutes later Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, appears with an Anbu squad, having felt an unknown power surge in this area. When he catches sight of Naruto, he rushes over to him and kneels next to him. When he sees what has happened to his eyes, Hiruzen's face hardens. "I'm sorry Naruto, this is my fault. I thought I could trust the villagers on their own, but no more. From now on I take matters into my own hands." He says, tears forming in his eyes. "Take all of these people to prison and then tell Ibiki to have some fun. If any of them resist, kill them." He says coldly and then body flickers to the hospital with Naruto in his arms. Throughout that Naruto held on to Suzumashi, even though he wasn't conscious. When the nurse at the desk sees him her mood fouls. "I'm sorry sir, but we have no one available on duty to treat him." She says, thinking her excuse would work. She is almost slammed into the ground when Hiruzen releases pure chakra and killing intent from his body. He leans in close to the nurse. "Make someone available then." He says quietly and coldly. She rushes off right after he lets the pressure up. He makes a signal and an Anbu appears behind him. "Summon the council, we have much to discuss." He tells the Anbu. Several minutes later Hiruzen leaves Naruto with 3 of his most trusted Anbu officers to go to his council meeting. In Naruto's mind. "What happened?" Naruto asks the 3 spirits. "You used a portion of my power and in a way that rarely happens. You unlocked the Shikai of my blade almost right after you learned my name and you knew my release command without my telling you." Suzumashi says, his buzz still prevailing in the otherwise silent plane. "But I didn't do anything, I couldn't move." Naruto says. The 3 spirits don't respond for a few moments. "Is something wrong?" he asks, thinking he had done something wrong again. No. It's nothing, back to what we were talking about. You unlocked a Shikai at such a young age. I can tell that you will become one of the greatest bearers of this Kekkei Genkai to be seen for a long time. The female spirit says, getting slightly flustered in the beginning. What's a Shikai? Naruto asks him, still confused. A Shikai is the first release of your sword, your Zanpakuto. It doubles your power and gives you special abilities only available to your Shikai state. There is a level above Shikai called bankai, which increases your power from Shikai 10 times over, giving you 20 times your normal strength, if not more so. Each Shikai and bankai is original to one person and cannot be achieved by any other. Zanpakuto. Suzumashi says. Yes, Naruto, and now, as you have used the power of your soul, you should be able to hear our names. I am Sakane. The female spirit says, having regained her composure. I am Tenkin, and I am the most closely connected to your being, Naruto. If you are injured, I am injured likewise, and vice versa. If I am injured, you will sustain the same injuries. The fiery giant says, surprisingly gentle despite his appearance. Naruto takes a few moments to comprehend what has just been said and then explodes with happiness. Yay. I'm going to be the greatest ninja ever with you guys to help me, he exclaims. Naruto, calm down, there is still one more being you must meet at this time. Follow me. Sakanade says and then transforms into the floating light which illuminates the darkness around them. When it fades, they are in a flooded sewer network, glowing with a faint red light that came from the one end of the hallway. The other end had a faint blue glow, but he was the only one that seemed to notice it. Sakanade drifts in the direction of the red light, followed by Tenkin and Suzumashi. Naruto rushes after them. A few minutes later they stand before a giant cage. The three spirits take their forms again and beckon Naruto forward. When he is only a few feet from the cage, a pair of slitted red eyes swiftly open. Naruto hears a growl sound within the cage and backs away in fright. A form slowly rises from the shadows and steps forward into the weak light. It's a giant crimson fox with 9 flowing tails stretching out behind it. Who dares to disturb my slumber? It roars angrily. Naruto can't form coherent speech at the moment, so he just squeaks. The fox looks down at him and at the 3 spirits that are with him. So my host has finally graced me with his presence, and he brought the most annoying spirits he could find with him. Why couldn't you bring the other one, then we would at least have something to mutually complain about. It grows, lying back down and closing its eyes. 9 tails, you will come to some form of agreement with Naruto before this day is done. If not, you will have to deal with the 3 of us. Tenkin orders, his voice deep and resounding, but still calm and gentle. Why should I work with a little brat? He already gets enough help from me. I repaired his eyes to the fullest extent possible, even if they don't work anymore. I kept him alive all these years, and what did I get out of it? Well, this is your chance to change that. There must be something you can do that would benefit the both of you. Sakanade says, her voice seeming to persuade the fox to think about it. The fox can't seem to decide between flooding the space with his chakra and killing the boy or deciding to help. A slight ping is heard and then it responds. There is one thing I can give him, for now at least, so he doesn't die. Boy, come here. He roars to Naruto, who was hiding behind Suzumashi. Naruto hesitantly steps forward and then falls over when the fox extends a claw through the gate and touches his forehead with it. Knowledge pours into his mind about something called summoning 9 masked beasts. When you require my assistance, just declare 9 mask SBH and chant the 9 Kuji in. They are Sei, Byaku, Shu, Gen, KK, Jioku, San, Hoku, and Nan, in that order, and they will appear from the mandala rings bearing the kanji for the Kuji in. Their names are, also in order, Sarik, Byako, Suzaku, Genbu, Kinja, Tenyo, Shinigami, Hakuto Senin, and Anto Senin. They are equal in power to the one tail, each bearing a tail of chakra, so when all are returned to you when they are defeated, I will appear from the gathered tails. They will all wear a mask, as will you when they are summoned. The mask will remain behind after the technique is over, and only an attack of equal or greater power will shatter it. The fox tells him, and it retreats back into the cage to its slumber. He was chattier than usual today. Sakanade says. All the better, he gave us what we needed from him. Tenkin says. Naruto speaks then, a bit confused by what just happened. Why is the 9 tails here? I thought the 4th Hokage killed him a long time ago. The 9 tails, as well as all the other tailed beasts, cannot be killed, being only masses of chakra, they can only be sealed within a container. That container is you, Naruto, and in the future you should be able to access the full power of the 9 tails within you. Sakanade informs him. That is beside the point, now you must awaken so we may begin training you in our powers, as well as the others of your clan. Suzumashi says. He places a hand on Naruto's head and he falls asleep. In the real world with Hiruzen after he left Naruto. Hiruzen walked into the council room, the change in his demeanor evident to the clan heads and some of the civilians, Tuchi Ichiraku especially. What is the meaning of calling this meeting so late? Sarutobi Nariko Haruno screeches. The kunai plants itself near her head, silencing her. I called this meeting to inform all of you that there will be some changes happening around here. He says quietly and coldly. His tone catches the attention of the clan heads, who haven't heard that tone for many years. What changes did you have in mind, Lord Third Shikaku? Nara asks. The standards for our genin have dropped considerably from what they once were. They are being raised to higher than they have ever been. Our strength has fallen too greatly to remain where we are. He begins. What? You can't do that. Only the council as a whole can decide if that motion passes. A fat councilman says, which earns him a kunai through his hand. He screams in pain, and the civilian council looks at him with mixed emotions of fear, relief, and anxiety. I am the council, and you would do well to remember that. I have the final decision on everything we do, not the other way around. Hiruzen growls to the man. The remainder of the meeting passes with only 3 arrests, though the Haruno woman is still there. It is decided that standards are to be raised, and the academy minimum graduation age is to be set at 14 instead of 12. All chunin and jonin will be given a test to meet the requirements of their status. Then Hiruzen went back to the hospital to see Naruto and found him sitting up. Hello Naruto, how are you feeling? He asks. I'm well enough. He says, having grown mentally when he used the Shikai of Suzumashi. I am very sorry about what happened today, Naruto, but I have made sure that it can never happen again. I just wish I had done so earlier. I hope you can forgive an old man for what he did. He says, not expecting Naruto to forgive him, as he was going to be permanently blind. I forgive you. If it hadn't happened I would never have unlocked my father's Kekkei Genkai. Naruto responds, thinking on the brighter side of the situation. Kekkei Genkai? What would that be? Hiruzen asks and looks to his Anbu officers, but they say nothing. My 3 swords are a part of my Kekkei Genkai. Naruto says, holding up Suzumashi as well as the other 2 proudly in his tiny hands. The first is a standard katana, and the cross guard is a rectangle decorated with a pattern of vertical lines, with the long sides pinched in towards the middle. The overall appearance is similar to a squirt-off Hercules. The second is another standard katana, the hilt and sheath are red, and its guard is shaped like an Hercules. Well, they all seem beautifully crafted, and I hear that your father was very powerful because of this ability. It was just a rumor until you just confirmed it for me. Hiruzen breathes, thinking he would never see if it was true. The rumor had been that the Hokage was in possession of a very powerful Kekkei Genkai with unknown abilities. Another rumor had said that his Hiraishin was a part of this Kekkei Genkai, but that rumor was diffused when the 4th had taught it to a squad of jonin. He would have to look into it. So when can I enter the academy? I'm really excited to become a ninja now. My Zanpakuto told me I have another Kekkei Genkai waiting to awaken too, so I'm even more excited. Naruto says happily, and Hiruzen's face falls. I'm sorry Naruto, but with the condition of your eyes, I cannot knowingly let you become a ninja. It would be much too dangerous for you out in the world. Hiruzen says. The cloud descends over Naruto's mind again before he can think of something to say. Naruto feels several pulses of energy exit his body and feels very tired afterward. He tries to move or speak, but just like the other time, he can't control his limbs. Give me 3 kunai, and I'll prove that I can be a ninja. Naruto's voice says without his conscious action, extending his hand in the Hokage's direction. Hiruzen doesn't move, thinking that Naruto wouldn't know how to handle a kunai even if he could see, but right now, it wasn't Naruto in control. The slight ping is heard again, this time in reality. Hiruzen reluctantly hands the blind boy 3 kunai. Naruto holds 2 in his right hand and 1 in his left. He throws the 2 first, straight ahead at one of the Anbu's positions, and then the 1, which hit and redirected the 2 in the direction of the other Anbu, while the 1 kept going towards the first. They catch them without trouble, but Hiruzen has a shocked expression on his face, as do the Anbu under their masks. Still think I'm incapable? Naruto asks, sending out another pulse of energy. Hiruzen sighs and shakes his head. I will allow you to join the academy, but I will promise nothing beyond that. Hiruzen states with a note of finality. The cloud lifts from Naruto's mind, again knocking him unconscious from its effects. Time skips several weeks later. Naruto has tried using the energy he felt and eventually managed to feel it around him. It takes all of his concentration however to get even the slightest feel of it, though he does get a hazy, indistinct picture when it happens. Naruto sat in the back of the classroom after he walked in and silently poured all his concentration and energy into getting a picture of the classroom. He had bumped into more than a few things after the Anbu the Hokage had sent to bring him here left. He saw Sasuke Uchiha being crowded by his fangirls and also him not reacting or moving from his brooding position in any way whatsoever. Hinata Hyuga was staring at him and trying unsuccessfully to hide it, as every time she looked at Naruto her blush deepened. Hiden Yazuka was talking to her dog about how much weaker everyone else was. Shikamaru Nara was sleeping while Choji Akimichi munched on some chips next to him. Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka were fawning over Sasuke. Shino was being Shino. Naruto decided that he was a good person to be friends with. Naruto adjusted the cloth around his eyes and walked over to him. "Hello Shino, how are you today?" he asks politely after bumping into the table trying to find the bench. Shino gives him a questioning look, though he stops when he realizes Naruto has a bandage over his eyes. "I'm well Naruto. I'm curious, why are you wearing a bandage over your eyes?" "I'm blind now Shino, my eyes will never see anything ever again, but I have other ways of surviving. I had to prove that just to attend the academy." "What are you talking about? You can't be blind," Kid exclaims walking over to sit with him, not believing Naruto's story. Naruto sighs and unties the bandage around his eyes, revealing the sightless orbs that were his eyes. The normal blue was dimmer and cloudier than it usually was, or so Naruto was told. "Wow, how can you be a shinobi if you can't see?" Kid asks. "I have other ways of finding my way around." Naruto replies, retying the bandage. They would have talked more, but just then their instructor, Iruka Yamino, walked in with his assistant Mizuki. Iruka was tanned man with brown hair and a scar across his nose, and Mizuki was about the same age as Iruka, probably late 20s or early 30s, and had gray hair. Kid described them in detail to Naruto, as she thought he couldn't tell anything at all about them, though he was thankful. After the academy, in Naruto's crummy apartment. He sat in a meditative position, slowly but surely entering the place inside his mind where the spirits of his Zanpakuto lived. "Hello Naruto, is it time for training again already?" Sakanade asks, having been sleeping most of the day. "Yes, I still can't feel the field of spiritual energy on command, and I can't become a shinobi until I do." Naruto responds, enjoying the feeling of sight within his mind. "Well, the only thing I can tell you is to keep doing the exercises we told you about before." Sakanade says, and before Naruto can argue, she disappears. Naruto sighs and looks around. He is in the same corridor that he had been in the first time he entered his mind. To his right was the fox's cage, and to his left was the strange blue light he had yet to explore. Having nothing he deemed better to do, he decided to finally investigate the light. He enters a room much smaller than the fox's cage, but still very large. In the center of the room is a pedestal. Naruto walks up to it and sees a bluish-purple faceted orb. He touches it in curiosity, and the instant he does he feels several fields of energy around him, which shocks him into letting go. "It took you long enough to come here." Someone says from behind Naruto. He whips around and sees a man standing there. He has longish black hair and dark blue eyes. He wears a strange white form-fitting, high-collared tunic. "Who are you?" Naruto asks, more curious than afraid, since he could summon his Zanpakuto spirits for help in an instant when he was within his mind. "You still don't know, and yet you've spent 2 weeks learning from them, disappointing. I am the mental embodiment of your mother's Kekkei Genkai, I am a Quincy." He says, his voice dripping with disapproval. "What do you know about my mom?" Naruto asks, now openly staring at the man before him, not quite registering the disapproving tone. "I know quite a bit, as would you if you had come sooner. Now she'll have to tell her story all over again." Quincy says irritably. What Naruto says, confused completely and utterly. "Maybe it would be better if we told this story." A feminine voice says behind the young boy. Naruto whips around and sees. There are 2 people there, both are tall with smiling faces. The man has longish messy blonde hair and blue eyes, and the woman has long red hair and violet eyes. The man he recognized instantly from before he lost his vision. "You're the 4th Hokage." Naruto whispers in shock. "Not only that. More importantly, I'm your father Naruto. It looks like my wish came true." Minato says, his eyes full of emotion. For a moment Naruto doesn't move or speak. Then he punches his father in the gut, though only managing to wind him slightly. "Why?" Naruto whispers, tears now streaming down his face. "Why did it have to be me?" Kushina kneels beside her son and hugs him tightly. "I'm sorry Naruto, I never wanted you to have to go through being a Jinchuriki, but I didn't get to make the final decision." Kushina says, shooting a glare at Minato that promised pain and suffering like nothing he had ever felt before, and Minato paled white as a ghost, even his hair blanching at the thought of the pain coming in the future. "Naruto, this is your mother, Kushina Uzumaki, my unofficial wife, according to the village." Minato chokes out. "Mommy," Naruto whispers, finally sounding completely his age, and then clings to his mother. She picks the small boy up. "So Naruto, how would you like it if we trained you?" Kushina asks her son. Naruto instantly perks up at the word training, all his calm composure he'd had since unlocking his Kekkei Genkai leaving him. His parents notice and laugh a little. "Okay Naruto, first we need you to get better control of your spiritual energy and the spiritual energy in the world around you. It's a bit difficult to actually teach you since we're only in your mind. We would need some of your father's old inventions, and they're all in our old compound." Kushina says, biting the nail on her left thumb while holding Naruto up with her right arm. You'll just have to tell the Hokage and get the sealing key from him. Minato says from a small distance away, wanting to be able to run when his wife tried to kill him. I guess that's the best plan we've got. Naruto, just go to the Hokage and tell him you need the seal key to the Namikaze Uzumaki compound. He should try to tell you a story, but tell him that he doesn't need to. Kushina says and kisses Naruto's forehead. Also when you see him, tell him to check behind the painting for the key to defeating his greatest enemy. Minato says, his voice filled with pity for the elderly Kage. Naruto reluctantly leaves his mind, following his mother's orders, though he did hear her rounding on his father just before everything went black. Naruto rose from his place on the floor and picked up his Zanpakuto. Anbu-person, can you take me to see the old man, he asks, knowing they would hear him from wherever they were watching him from. One moment. Any of them says, appearing next to Naruto and then disappearing in a swirl of leaves. They reappear outside the Hokage's office. Wait here. The Anbu says and then knock on the door. When given permission to enter, he opens the door. Lord Third, Naruto wished to see you, I have him here with me. They report. Please bring him in. Hiruzen says, wondering what Naruto could want at this late an hour. It had to be around 9 o'clock and even Naruto had to get tired at some point, right? After Naruto had been situated in a seat, the conversation began. So why did you want to see me, Naruto? Did something happen at the academy? Hiruzen asks. No, but there is something I need to ask you. I need the seal key to the Namikaze Uzumaki compound, and before you start, you don't need to tell me any story. Naruto says, quoting his mother almost word for word. Hiruzen is stunned into silence, both at the fact that Naruto knew of his heritage and that he had countered his story that he had been preparing ever since that day. Also, I am told to tell you to look behind the painting for the key to defeating your greatest enemy. Naruto says, now quoting his father. Hiruzen perks up a bit from his daze, knowing what that had to be. He jumps up and flies over to the portrait of Minato and practically ripped it off the wall. Behind it was a seal, which Hiruzen recognized. He unlocked it quickly, which resulted in a scroll popping out. He rips it open and reads it quickly. So that's how he did it. To think he hid his greatest secret behind his portrait. Hiruzen says, chuckling to himself. What is it? Naruto asks excitedly, bouncing a little in his seat. It's your father's key to defeating the greatest enemy of all. Kage paperwork. Hiruzen says and then forms some hand seals. Work clone jutsu. He says and next to him a clone appears. Mission directive, complete paperwork, effective immediately. He states and his clone sits down at the desk and begins doing the paperwork, not a hint of complaint on its face and at a pace much quicker than Hiruzen could ever go. So can I have that key now? I have training to do. Naruto asks impatiently. He wasn't very good at waiting, preferring to force his way through things or confuse others into doing things. Yes, just a minute. Hiruzen says and then hangs Minato's portrait back up. He then takes his off the wall, revealing another seal, which he wipes some blood on. Out pops a single piece of paper with a seal formula on it. Hiruzen places his hand on the boy's shoulder and then vanishes in a swirl of leaves, taking his grandson with him. They reappear at a gate that seemed to be outside the village. Naruto, this compound is outside the village, so I will have some of my trusted Anbu here to take care of you. It was placed out here at your father's request, since he was always experimenting with seals and such. If one of them went wrong, he didn't want half the village to end up burning to the ground underwater while lightning-enhanced kunai rained from the sky, or so he said. Hiruzen tells the boy and then places the seal formula paper on the gate. A blue glow appears around it and then spreads. When it dies down, Hiruzen pushes the gate open and leads Naruto inside. He stops in the courtyard, admiring the statues that were there, and Naruto uses that as an excuse to concentrate on the field of spiritual energy around them. The picture he gets is just the slightest bit clearer than it had been that morning. The courtyard was vast, at least 100 yards square, and it contained 4 fountains and 8 strategically placed statues. There was a hedge growing around the edge of the courtyard that dearly needed trimming, and the weeds that grew up between the cobblestones needed pulling up. I haven't been here for years. Hiruzen says, breaking Naruto's concentration. Well, I can't stay long with you, Naruto, I have more things to do besides paperwork. I'll have to file the Anbu I have in mind to a mission, but if you ever need to speak to me about anything, just come and tell me. Hiruzen says, kneeling in front of the blind 5-year-old. Okay, but before you go, can you help me inside? Naruto asks, his head tilted to the side, smiling. Of course. Hiruzen says and then brings Naruto to the front door, pushes it open, coughs a bit on the dust, and brings Naruto to the library. He then leaves Naruto, telling him the Anbu would be there within the next 10 to 20 minutes. Naruto enters his mind again, getting more used to doing it. He reappears in the room with the bluish-purple orb. Naruto, you're back. How did it go? Kushina asks, picking her son up again. It went great, he didn't even spend a long time. Naruto loses it at the end. Reminiscing, Kushina asks. Yeah, that. He said he would be sending some Anbu to stay with me in the compound. Naruto responds happily, being a little kid for once in his traumatic life. He then looks around trying to find his father, but only sees the Quincy person. Where's daddy? Naruto asks. Oh, he's over there. Kushina says nonchalantly, pointing somewhere behind her where Naruto couldn't see. He cranes his neck as far as it would go and catches a glimpse of a large puddle of red and what could have been a hand before Kushina blocks his view. You don't need to see that, Naruto, he'll be fine eventually, but there's something I need to explain to you before we can begin your training. When the fox was sealed into you, your father had also sealed something else into you. It was one of his inventions that he had made out of another one, but I won't go into that part. That invention was called the Hijoku, and it's right over there on that pedestal. That orb has some very special abilities, or so your father had told me. According to him, it had the ability to make a person's greatest desire come true, but only once. Your father and I both made a wish before we died. His wish was that you would grow up to be the strongest shinobi there is, stronger than any cage, and that you would have help when you most needed it. Kushina tells her son, and then pauses to let that sink in. What was your wish? Naruto asks. I wished for you to be safe. I couldn't pass on without having some way of protecting my son, and that was the best I could do. I think that it's happened once or twice already. Kushina says, pushing her son to remember. Naruto thinks really hard about it and remembers the 2 times he hadn't been able to control his body. Both times had led to him being more capable of defending himself or having the chance to get more capable of defending himself. Then he remembers the times he had heard that pinging sound and how it had changed what was happening. That was all because of that little orb? Naruto asks. Yes, and now you should go, the Anbu should be here soon. We'll start your training after academy tomorrow, but tonight I just want to talk to my son. Kushina says, smiling. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. The Anbu walked into the room only moments after he exited his mind. Hello, Naruto. We were sent by Lord Hokage to watch over you while you stay here. Any of them says, their voice sounding female. Can you guys take off your masks? They scare me. Naruto asks, getting a sweat drop from the Anbu. Naruto remembered all the times he had seen an Anbu rescue him, and each time the mask had scared him, and even though he couldn't see anymore, it still scared him. There is the scuff of ceramic of fabric, and then 3 clinks as the Anbu put their masks on a table. Their faces are revealed. One is female with straight purple hair reaching down to her waist, and brown eyes, and a shade of red lipstick. The second is male with short brown hair and black almond-shaped eyes. The third is also male. He had short, unkempt, dark-colored hair and a relatively broad nose and well-defined eyelashes that were turned upwards at each end. Well, since we're going to be living together from now on, I guess we should learn each other's names. I'll start. I'm Yuga Yazuki. The female Anbu says. I'm Shisui Uchiha, but I must ask that you don't tell anyone about me. Not even Sasuke can know. The third man says, though he hesitates ever so slightly on the name Sasuke. Naruto decided he would look into it later. You can call me Tenzu for now, Naruto. The last man says lazily. Are you all really strong? Can you train me to be a shinobi? Naruto asks. He may have training to do when his mother or father tell him something, but there are still other shinobi arts to learn, and this would be a great way to get a head start. Sure, there's plenty we can teach you, though we'll have to work on your chakra control if we're going to teach you anything besides theory and taijutsu. Shisui says. The group spends hours talking about things that are important and trivial. Eventually Naruto falls asleep in his chair and Yuga carries him to the master bedroom where his parents had once stayed and then made Tenzu and Shisui change the sheets and things when she saw the state of the bedroom. They do so at a breakneck pace, knowing Yuga's reputation for hurting people who didn't do what she told them to do, especially when it came to children and cats. They kept watch through the night, each taking a shift watching Naruto's room. Naruto spent the rest of the night learning all about the history of his mother's clan and his 2 Kekkei Genkai. It was the best night of his life. I know that was short, but I didn't want to start the part after the time skip this chapter and I couldn't think of what else to write. Also as a note, the 9 tails will become like Naruto's inner hollow, gaining hollow powers and things when he puts on the mask from his summoning and still getting the tailed beast cloaks to use. He won't have this until after he masters bankai with each of his blades. I will make this a harem story, but as for who's in it, please vote on the poll on my profile. Keed will be the first girl in it, but you have until 7 o'clock on Tuesday the 26th of November to vote on the harem. I will also be writing another story where Naruto has twin ox and Pakuto and stuff, but I won't be publishing that until I'm a decent way into this story. Divinejustice. Next is Team 7, Jonin Sensei will be Kakashi Haddock. Any suggestion as to who should be on the team? Hiruzen asks. Sasuke Uchiha must be on this team. Kakashi needs to instruct him in how to use his Sharingan. Nariko demands, slamming her hand on the table. Hiruzen glares at her, making her cringe. Are there any objections to this placement, he asks, and receiving no answer assumes it to be no. Who else? We still need 2 more genin for the squad. Hiruzen says. I recommend the Yamanaka girl and my own daughter Sakura. They would be a good match for training the Uchiha heir into a leader. They will follow whatever orders he gives. Nariko says, not noticing the glare she was getting from Ino's father Inoichi Yamanaka. The teams need to be balanced. A team like that would die when it first leaves the village. I'll agree to put one of them on a team with Sasuke, but there must be a balancing force. Hiruzen states, his voice brooking no argument. I have a suggestion, Lord Third. What if we put Sakura on the team and revive the Ino Shikacho formation? It is proven to be one of the most formidable formations we have ever had. Hiyashi Hyuga suggests. Approved, but who shall be the final member of Team 7? Your daughter perhaps, Hiyashi Hiruzen questions. I have to disagree. If we put her on the team with the Uchiha it will only end in catastrophe like the other times that formation has been attempted. Hiyashi reasons. What about Naruto? He seems like a level-headed boy. He should do well in balancing the team in question out, so long as there isn't any bias by Kakashi. Shikaku says, saying as little as possible while he was awake. Approved. I trust Naruto to do this, and his performance at the academy even with his disability is exemplary. Hiruzen says thoughtfully. I object. The demon could corrupt the Uchiha heir. I will not stand for that boy to be placed on the same squad as Sasuke, and my daughter Nariko screams. There is a moment where nothing happens, and then one of intense action. No one quite knows what happened, except for one moment Nariko was standing at her place, and the next she had crashed through the wall and into the building opposite the council chamber, and Hiruzen Sarutobi stood in her place, his adamantine staff in hand. I will not let anyone talk about Naruto like that. If anyone else has something to say, do so now, or else never speak about this topic again. Hiruzen says, returning to his seat. The rest of the team pairing goes quite smoothly. With Naruto at the academy. I swear I can make it happen. Naruto says, his hands making gestures for emphasis. Come on Naruto, it's impossible, just admit it. Kid replies disbelievingly. Fine, I'll prove it. Naruto says, and then gets up and walks over to Shikamaru. Shikamaru, want to play a game of shinobi shogi after school? Naruto asks. Shikamaru picks his head off the desk and then to the absolute shock of everyone but Naruto, got up, shook Naruto's hand and said, you're on. Sakura, Ino, and Choji faint dead away at the fact that Shikamaru just agreed to play one of the most physically involved games there is in the shinobi world. There would have been an incredible amount of murmuring, but just then Iruka walked in and called the class to order. Ino and Choji woke up then, and Ino shook Sakura awake. I'm here to announce team placements today, but also to welcome you to the world of the shinobi. It isn't as glamorous as you may think, but if you survive it is very rewarding. Now Team 1 will be Iruka says, and stats reading names. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto Uzumaki. Your Jonin sensei will be Kakashi Haddock. Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiden Yazuka, and Shino Aburam. Your Jonin sensei will be Kurina Yuhi. Team 9 is still in circulation, so Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Choji Akimichi. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Please remain here until your sensei comes to get you. Iruka says, drowning out the cheers and groans of the new genin. The door opens almost as soon as he finishes. Team 8 with me. A woman with long black hair and red eyes, says and leads her team out. Team 10 you're with me. A man smoking a cigarette says and then walks away, not waiting for his team, leaving them scrambling to catch up. The other new genin are picked up soon after, leaving Team 7 to wait for their sensei. 3 hours and awkward silence later. The door opens and a man with gravity-defying silver hair walks in. Meet me on the roof. He says and disappears. The group silently walks to the roof, Naruto and Sasuke ignoring each other and Sakura ignoring Naruto to fawn over Sasuke. Their sensei, Kakashi, was sitting on the roof reading a small orange book. Well, you're finally here. Let's get to know each other since we're going to be on the same team. Just say your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams. I'll start. My name is Kakashi Haddock, my like are none of your concern, as are my dislikes. Hobbies and I don't really have any dreams for the future. Pinky, your turn. He says, getting a collective sweat drop from his team. Well, my name is Sakura Haruno, my likes are Sasuke, my dislikes are Naruto and Ino Pig. My hobbies are flower pressing and reading, and my dreams for the future, she says, and then looks at Sasuke with a blush and a giggle. Naruto sighs internally, not liking where his team is going so far. Okay, Sasuke, your turn. Kakashi says, his tone more respectful than the one he had before. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, I don't particularly like anything, and I hate many things. My hobbies are training, and my dream, no, my ambition, because I will make it a reality, is to kill a certain someone and revive my clan to its glory. Sasuke says, not moving his hands from the brooding position. Sakura gets hearts in her eyes and Kakashi, well, he looked impressed, but that faded when he turned to Naruto. He didn't even speak. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are training and my dislikes are arrogant people and those who underestimate me. My hobbies are training with my swords and my bow, and my dreams for the future are none of your business. Naruto says, his tone emotionless, not giving anything away about him. Well then, tomorrow meet me at training ground 7 at 8 o'clock. Oh, and don't eat anything beforehand. Kakashi says, and then uses the body flicker technique to leave. Naruto soon follows suit to go back to the compound. He finds Tenzu tending the garden while Yugao and Shisui spar in Kenjutsu. They stop when they sense Naruto back. Hi Naruto, how did it go? Yugao asks, walking over to him. The four of them had become more of a family over the past 9 years, and Yugao was like an older sister to Naruto. It went well, but I'm on the same team as Sasuke and Sakura, and Kakashi is our sensei. He already seems to favor Sasuke over the rest of us though, so I'm annoyed. Maybe one of you could talk to the Hokage about being a secondary sensei. I'm sure the council would approve, since it would mean another person to teach the last Uchiha. Naruto says, putting air quotes around last. How did Sasuke seem? Shisui asks, as Sasuke was one of his relatives. An arrogant jerk consumed with revenge and a lust for power. I'm sure once he sees what I can do he'll want my swords, if not my bow as well. Naruto replies, venting his frustration. I'm going to the lab, I still need to finish listening to the report on the Hejoku. Naruto says and walks inside, leaving his 3 guardians to debate who would go talk to the Hokage. He sat down in a chair and focused his spiritual energy on the box that was sitting on the table in front of him. Around him there were hundreds of drawers, each filled with scrolls and inventions and prototypes. The box in front of him contained the verbal reports his father had made on all his inventions. It whirred to life and his father's voice came out of it. I originally invented the Hejoku to grant my bloodline to others in the village, but that experiment failed and test subject Isamu never recovered the use of his chakra. Further experimentation led to the belief that the Hejoku was incomplete and would never succeed in its purpose until a stabilizing agent could be added. All attempts to create a second Hejoku have been failures, but there is still reason to believe that there is something else like it out in the elemental nations. Day 362 of Hejoku experimentation. I believe I have found the necessary stabilizing agent. It was found in the remains of the land of whirlpools, with a message that said to whoever finds the Buradicid, bloodstone, handle it with great care. Whoever can bend the stone to their will has the power to defy the laws of reality. This power comes at a price however, and that price is upon us. I believe it to have been written by a member of the Uzumaki clan, a Quincy, probably the leader, and the price to be death upon both yourself and those who share your blood. In several tests I have run I find it to be compatible with the Hejoku, and I will attempt to fuse them together with a seal. Day 363 of Hejoku experimentation. I have successfully fused the Hejoku to the Buradicid, and upon further investigation, the orb has become too powerful for any human to use safely, unless in the most dire of circumstance. It will be sealed away on my own person, so no one will be able to get it without killing me first. The cost of unsealing it is 20 of your remaining years of life. All remaining data on the Hejoku will be stored away under designation A37B18CU14. Day 364 of Hejoku experimentation. After nearly 1 year of experimentation I have divined the true power of the Hejoku with its new abilities, just before I was to seal it away. It has the power to make a person's greatest wish come true, whether it is possible or not, so long as they have a strong will to command the Hejoku's power. Day 365 of Hejoku experimentation. I have sealed away the Hejoku and taken all precautions possible to keep it safe and make sure whoever undoes the seal does not live long after. This will be the final entry on the Hejoku and related materials. Then it starts talking about a Gentary iron seal, and he turned it off. There was much to think about. Next day at the training field, Kakashi is the customary 3 hours late. Naruto sat in a meditative stance, taking the extra time to survey the area around him to possibly guess the purpose of the meeting. He had gone against Kakashi's advice and eaten. He was about to retreat into his mind when their sensei actually appeared and with him came Tenzu. Tenzu nodded his head discreetly to Naruto. Well, you're all here. This is our new assistant sensei Tenzu, he will be aiding me in the test today. Test? What test? We already passed the Genin test, right? Sakura interrupts. You passed the academy graduation test, but you haven't passed the test to actually become a genin of this village. Now the test is simple, you all have until 3 o'clock to get these bells from Tenzu, and I will have 2 as primary sensei, and he will have 1, but don't think that he will be any easier to defeat. If you do not get a bell in that time, you fail and will be sent back to the academy. Ready. Begin. Kakashi says all at once, holding up a set of metal bells. It takes several moments for the genin to get the message and hide. Naruto, finally understanding the purpose of this test and remembering the Hokage tell him about giving this test to the Sannin, appeared near his two teammates. Sakura had followed Sasuke like a lost puppy. We need to work together to pass this test. The point isn't to get the bells, it's to show that we can work as a team in a situation like this. Naruto tells them, but they scoff. I don't need any help from you. I can get the bells by myself. Sasuke says, and then before Naruto can argue dashes away to set a trap. Sakura blows a raspberry as Naruto before following. Naruto sighs, deciding to just get a bell. He uses the flash step technique his father had shown him and in his mind he was a master at it. In reality he hit several trees and bird before appearing near the two jonin. Tenzu, I'll let you choose which weapon I fight you with. Naruto says, drawing their attention. You could practically taste the anticipation in the air. I'll choose Tenkin this time, I haven't sparred against you with that sword yet. Tenzu says, cracking his knuckles. I promise you, I'll break through any defense you put up. Naruto replies, knowing Tenzu's inclination towards defense instead of offense with his abilities. Well then, I'll just have to resort to some more draconian methods. He says, getting very dramatic at the end, as was a point between them. Naruto seals the two Zanpakuto away on seals on his wrists and drew Tenkin. Tenzu pulls out a kunai knife and takes a stance. They clash, their figures blurred from speed, their blades creating sparks between them. Wood style, four-pillar prison jutsu. Tenzu calls out, forming the snake seal. Wood erupts from the ground around Naruto, trapping him. Well Naruto, you say you can break through anything, prove me wrong in thinking that's just talk. Tenzu says while Kakashi just watches, stunned that a genin was that strong. Naruto swings at the wood, but only lodges his blade in the wood and then looks over to where his sensei and friend is standing, and then smirks. I didn't think I would need this move to fight you so soon. Naruto tells him, and Tenzu gets a shiver down his spine. Roar Tenkin, Naruto exclaims, his spiritual pressure spiking to double what it was previously. His sword does not change form however. I'm not impressed Naruto, no illusions. No rain of swords from the sky. No jutsu. Tenzu asks in disappointment, not knowing of the sword's true abilities, but Naruto just keeps smirking. If you want to stay in one piece, I suggest you back up a bit. Naruto replies. He raises his sword and phantom flames appear around him, and from those flames come a giant armored arm holding an equally giant sword, with the same hilt and guard as Naruto's Zanpakuto, but a different blade and a string attached to the end. Naruto swings the blade across in front of him, stopping at the right moment to not cut him in half, and twists his blade, tearing the prison in two. Naruto raises his other arm, and the first disappears, this one is just like the other, but without a blade. Naruto punches at Tenzu, the giant arm mimicking his, and Tenzu has to summon a wall in front of him to protect himself. It holds for a few seconds and then crumbles like rotten wood. The fist hits him and sends him flying backward. He flips in the air and lands feet first against a tree and pushes off, already forming hand seals. Wood-style wood mallet jutsu he calls, slamming his hands against the ground and shooting blocks of wood at his student. Naruto raises his blade again and they hit the flat of the giant's sword. You'll have to do better than that Tenzu, brute force won't do anything against me. Naruto calls out tauntingly. Tenzu would have responded, but at that time Kakashi appears behind Naruto and sweeps his legs. When he hits the ground his sword is shocked out of his hand. Kakashi moves to pick it up. A blade this powerful should not be in the hands of someone who can't use its fullest potential. Sasuke should be the one to wield the sword, he deserves it. Kakashi says as he wraps his hand around the hilt. He picks it up and raises it, expecting it to do the same thing for him as it did for Naruto, who was now back on his feet. Only I can wield that sword, Tenkin won't let anyone else wield him. Same goes for all of my weapons. Now give me my blade. Naruto says, holding out his hand. I don't think so, you haven't done anything to deserve such a fine blade, and Sasuke can still use it as a normal katana. Kakashi says, sounding just like the former civilian council. Kakashi, what's wrong with you? Tenzu asks, coming up beside Naruto. A demon shouldn't be allowed to have such a fine weapon as this, only those who deserve it. Kakashi replies. This isn't like you, and you know who Naruto's parents are, you know all about sealing, why are you acting like this? Tenzu asks, angry with his former teacher. I will ask one more time for my sword back, or I'll take it back by force and leave your body here to rot. Naruto tells him quietly, his tone cold as ice. You think you can defeat me? That's very funny. Nine tails. Kakashi says with a laugh, which pushes Naruto over the edge. He unseals Uzumaki. Tenzu, I advise you to get Sasuke and Sakura and get away from here, or I can't guarantee your safety. Naruto says, and then leaps into the air after he leaves. Uzumaki Nishiki. Benihikme, he exclaims, tracing an arc in the air around him. Blades like Suzumashis appear in the arc and then fly outward toward Kakashi. Naruto intends to kill him. No one messes with his Zanpakuto and lives to tell the tale, so long as he can help it. Kakashi's eyes widen when he sees the attack, but substitutes himself with a log just in time. Damn, where'd he go? Naruto asks himself, sending out more spiritual energy to locate him. Looking for me, Kakashi says, appearing behind Naruto and swinging his stolen sword. Naruto whips around and parries. Their blades lock together. Cry, Suzumashi. Naruto says through gritted teeth, and a piercing sound is heard, overloading everyone's eardrums, but Naruto's. Kakashi drops the sword and then falls after it. Naruto, having defied the laws of gravity enough, falls as well, except he lands on his feet. Kakashi lands next to Tenkin, the blade cutting open the back of his flak jacket and his bodysuit. Naruto moves to make the finishing blow on Kakashi until he sees black lines of Kakashi's back. He opens the tear a bit more to reveal a large seal of Kakashi's back. What the heck? Tenzu appears carrying an unconscious Asuke and Sakura over his shoulders. Naruto, what happened? I heard that sound thing and got concerned. Tenzu says, having since developed a tolerance for the sound and being equipped with a seal that toned it down. He has some kind seal on his back. Naruto replies, cutting away more material so he could show Tenzu. He looks startled when he sees it. That's a re-education seal. Villages use them when they have a rouge ninja that they can't just kill. It overrides the person's mind and makes them believe whatever the one who created the seal. Tenzu tells him, examining it. Well, how do we remove it? Naruto asks. We can't, only the person who put the seal on him can take it off again. Dun. I think that a sufficient Cleffinger for, seeing as I can't write Cleffingers to save my life. To those that had the thought he's way too overpowered, he is not as overpowered as it makes him seem. Tenzu was caught off guard by his abilities, but only because they are ones that he hadn't seen and fought against before. Kakashi was also caught off guard, but that was because of his reprogramming. I am changing what I said last chapter. The Nine Tails will not become his inner hollow, but he will get hollow powers later on. I will not be crossing over many if any Bleach characters, so there will be no arcs taken from Bleach. Juhabak does not exist in this fic. The reason for Naruto's parents being around that long in his mindscape will be explained later in the story. I will not be putting lemons in the story, sorry, I'm just not comfortable writing them. Results of the harem poll are now in and finalized. Heed. Fem. SASUKE will be named Sasam, and I have a plan in mind for that, overused or otherwise. 14 votes. FUU 13 votes. Fem. HAKU 12 votes. No more, I will have enough trouble with these 4. Lastly, on the topic of the other story I told you about, I will not be posting it until I finish this one and that story. I know how I want it to go for the most part, though I may ask questions and have polls about it sometimes. Once that story is up, I want to ask all of you to read it and then answer a poll I will have up at that time. If you want, I will put a short summary in one of these note parts at the end. Divinejustice. What do you mean we can't take it off? How do we fix it then? Naruto exclaims. There are ways to see who set the seal, but they take a long time to get results. We'll have to bring him to the Hokage and see what he says. Either way, Kakashi won't be on active duty for a while. Can you stay here while I bring him in until they wake up? Tell them you all passed and to meet here again tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Tenzu asks. Naruto nods an affirmative and Tenzu vanishes in a swirl of leaves with Kakashi in tow. Several minutes later. What happened? Sakura asks, sitting up and holding her head. Sasuke rises holding his head as well, though he doesn't speak. You got knocked out. Kakashi was revealed to have a re-education seal on him. Tenzu-sensei said to wait here until you two woke up and tell you we passed and that we need to meet here tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Any questions? Yeah, why didn't you get knocked out? Dobe Sasuke asks, his arrogance having been knocked down a level. That answer will come with time, Naruto says mysteriously and then Flash steps away but ruins his mysterious aura by crashing into a tree. He just gets stranger and stranger, doesn't he? Sakura wonders aloud. Little did she know that Sasuke was thinking something along the same lines. But Tenzu, same time as that was happening. He appears in the Hokage's office, Kakashi over his shoulder. Tenzu, what happened? The Hokage asks, dropping the little orange book he was reading while his work clone did his paperwork. Tenzu sets Kakashi down on the floor and pulls out a seal. He puts it on Kakashi's head and makes a sign. After that he turns to the aged cage. I had to put a sleeping seal on him, or this could turn ugly. As you know, we were testing our team on their teamwork ability, but it didn't go as we had planned. Naruto challenged me to a one-on-one fight and it was going very well for him, though I had been about to change that when Kakashi stepped in and took Naruto's Zanpakuto, saying that only Sasuke deserved to wield it. Tenzu begins. Did Naruto do this to him? Then Hiruzen asks, conflicted. On one hand he had to deliver justice for whatever had happened to Kakashi, but on the other he couldn't bring himself to punish his surrogate grandson. He had seen a great change in him when he unlocked his Kekkei Genkai, and once he had assigned the 3 Anbu to watch over him and help him with whatever he needed, he had shown an amazing rate of growth, promising to become one of the village's greatest ninjas someday. Well, yes and no. Tenzu says, interrupting Hiruzen's thoughts. What do you mean? Hiruzen asks, hoping this would clear Naruto's name of the blame. Kakashi's current condition is due mostly to Naruto, on account of Kakashi tried to take his Zanpakuto and give it to Sasuke, but there's more behind that. Tenzu replies, turning the unconscious Jonin onto his side, revealing the seal. Hiruzen inhales sharply when he sees it. Naruto discovered this when he was about to kill Kakashi. It's a re-education seal, though who put it on him is unclear. Whoever did make it made it so Kakashi treated Sasuke like a king and Naruto like trash. Tenzu finishes. Hiruzen claps his hands and 2 masked Anbu appear. Tiger, Lion, take Kakashi to the sealing division. Tell them to begin examining the seal for who drew it and watch over them until further notice. Ichi says, and the Anbu take Kakashi from Tenzu and then disappear. Tenzu, you will have to take over as acting sensei until further notice. Tell them that Kakashi is ill if they don't already know, and if they do, make sure they don't tell anybody. If word of this gets out, it could be disastrous. Hiruzen tells him, and the Anbu Jonin nods and then makes to leave. One more thing before you go. There is something you need to know about Sasuke. I had informed Kakashi of this when he became Jonin instructor, but since it has turned to you, I must inform you as well. Hiruzen says, and then motions for him to come closer. He whispers something very quietly, barely audible even to Tenzu over the rustle of paperwork. When Hiruzen finishes, Tenzu looks shocked. I didn't know, but I'll be sure to take the correct precautionary measures. Tenzu assures the elderly man and then takes his leave. Hiruzen takes out a pipe and begins smoking, and then picks up his book and continues reading, though his mind is elsewhere. But Sasuke. Sasuke sat on the second Hokage's head, thinking about what had happened earlier that day. How can he be that strong already? Sasuke asks aloud, remembering seeing the supposedly dead last in their class take on 2 Jonin with apparent ease. The Dobe had used what seemed like an average katana to break the famed wood style of the first Hokage, and then he used another to make swords rain from the sky. Then he even had the audacity to show another ability that knocked everyone within the range of the sound out cold. She couldn't even resist that ability, and what made it worse was that he could do that whenever he wanted, and she couldn't do anything remotely special like that. Why did he get gifted with so much power when I'm the one who deserves it, when I'm the one who needs it? Sasuke says, emotion clogging his speech. I haven't even unlocked my Sharingan, so I can't even fight back against him. Tears form in Sasuke's eyes, but they don't fall. They haven't fallen since that night so many years ago. You aren't even worth killing. If you want to become strong and take your revenge, let your hate for me grow. Let it feed you, let it shape you, and when your hate is strong enough, seek me out. Tsukiyomi. Itachi says, activating his special eyes. Sasuke fell into a black and white world of pain and suffering for what seemed like months. The memory burned through Sasuke's mind and the pain came with it, but still not a single tear left his eyes. Next day at the training ground. Well, since Naruto already told you what happened yesterday, I don't need to feed you the cover story, but if anyone asks, Kakashi is ill and off duty for the time being. If it goes too long for that, we move to the story that he is on a vacation to the land of hot springs. Got it everybody? Tenzu asks, not used to commanding a genin team, so he is unsure of himself. When he gets a nod of recognition from everyone, he lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Well, since that's out of the way, I think we need to get to know each other better in terms of our skill sets, so I'll begin. I possess the wood-style Kekkei Genkai as you all saw yesterday, which means I can create and manipulate wood with my chakra through the use of the snake seal and mixing my earth and water-style chakras together. In terms of Taijutsu, I prefer to let wood clones take care of that while I use other wood jutsu from a short distance away. I never really use Genjutsu in my fighting, but I am proficient with using and dispelling them if needed. Sakura, how about you go next? Tenzu starts off for the group. Well, I can do the Academy Taijutsu style pretty well, and I can get the bullseye on the target 5 out of 10 times. I have excellent chakra control, which I've been told makes me well suited for Genjutsu, but I don't know any. I only know the Academy Ninjutsu, so I think I'm pretty good for a start. She says, getting a sweat drop from everyone. She had absolutely terrible skills at everything but chakra control, and only because her reserves were really tiny. Sasuke, how about you go next? Tenzu says, hoping that he would get something he could work with. I'm proficient in the use of my clan's Taijutsu style and the Academy style. I don't know any Genjutsu, but I can dispel most low-level ones they used in the Academy. I know my chakra type is fire, like most of my clan, and I can use several of our fire-based techniques. In accuracy I can hit the bullseye every time from every angle moving at any speed. Sasuke concludes, and Sakura gets more hearts in her eyes. Tenzu seems mildly impressed with that as Sasuke was stronger than most new genin, even if they did come from clans. Naruto, wrap this up for us please. Tenzu tells him, and Naruto complies. I can use a taijutsu style that I had help developing and which I called Hakuta with great proficiency. My ninjutsu skills are around low to mid chunin, though I prefer to use my Kekkei Genkai techniques, which I call Kido. I am a Kenjutsu expert with all three of my blades. I can't do any Genjutsu, but I can break them given time. My greatest strengths lie in my two Kekkei Genkai, which are my three Zanpakuto and the Kido, as well as my Bo Ginrei Kajaku, and several other abilities I would like to keep a secret for the time being. My accuracy is average for a new genin, though it would be better if I could distinguish colors. Naruto summarizes for them. Sasuke and Sakura stare wide-eyed at his list of abilities. Naruto, as we've seen your sword abilities for the most part, would you like to demonstrate some of your other abilities for us? Tenzu asks, hoping he could solidify the team today into a cohesive unit, if only loosely. Naruto turns around and raises his right arm. A pentacle charm hanging from a bracelet string dangled down from his wrist. He focuses on his spirit weapon and it materializes in his hand. Whoa, Sakura breaths in awe. Licked regen. Naruto says, pulling back on the crimson string. He fires, releasing so quickly his hand becomes a blur. 1,200 arrows fly toward a section of the forest around them and decimate it. Well, that worked quite well. Usually it just blows up in my face. Naruto muses, and the others face fault. Naruto, next time you do something like that make sure it doesn't have the possibility of blowing up and killing us, all. Tenzu says, sitting back up. Okay Tenzu, will do. Now onto my Kido spells, I'll do one of the low-level ones that don't always blow up when I try them. Naruto says, mostly to himself. Ad number 4 by Akurai, he exclaims, lightning shooting from his extended fingertips. Just to show off he shot a bird, thoroughly charring the outside, and upon further investigation by Tenzu, leaving the inside perfectly cooked. Anyone hungry? We have some roast bird. Tenzu asks. It turns out to be reasonably tasty. What they don't eat is burned to ashes by Sasuke, who wanted to show off as well. Well, now that we know each other's abilities better I can come up with some formations for missions. I want to let you know now that I don't want to lead with fear, but I will have no problem resorting to more draconian methods. He tells them, pulling a creepy face. That's okay sensei, we get it. Sakura says, sweating slightly. Good, well, let's go to the Hokage Tower and get some D-rank missions. Based on your team performance on those I'll set up a training schedule for the next few weeks. The team spends the next few hours doing the most challenging mission known to any level of ninja. Hatching Tora the cat. In position, net ready for capture. Naruto whispers through his mic. In position, ready to direct the target to the net. Are you guys sure this plan will work? Sakura asks, not sure whether they had thought this through. Yes, now are you ready? Sasuke asks, annoyed that the plan was being questioned. Ready. She sighs. Begin. Naruto relays. Sakura squeals at Tora, a fangirlish scream like whenever Sasuke did something. Tora bolted right away and Sasuke broke from cover, chasing the cat straight toward Naruto, using blunt kunai and shuriken whenever Tora tried to change direction. Naruto jumped out of the bushes he was in and threw the net over Tora. He struggled for a moment against the restricting fabric, but then Naruto placed a purchased sleep seal on the cat, knocking him out. Well, that's one expensive seal down the drain. Naruto says, wiping his hands on his shikishima. He picks up the sleeping cat and untangles him from the net. Good job team, let's go turn the target in and get another mission. Tenzu says, appearing in their midst. The team groans, but follows him. He leaves. Chapter 5. Sasuke isn't completely arrogant anymore, but still a little. Naruto has better control over his powers now, putting him at lieutenant level control, though still not captain. He can use Kido up to level 65 now, and his headband is over his eyes, since they have no use anymore. Sakura is better at actually doing things now and can use low-level Genjutsu with varying degrees of success. The Anbu have moved away from Naruto and are back to their regular duties, aside from Tenzu as he's his sensei, but he's still moved away. Thanks to YUKICREWGER2 for contributing the headband idea. Several months and many D-rank missions later. Well, congratulations on capturing Tora again, Team 7. I have some more D-rank missions if you are ready for another. Hiruzen tells them as the daimyo's wife walks away, almost crushing Tora. What kind of missions are they? Tenzu asks. Well, a shopkeeper needs his roof shingled or there's a farmer that needs help tending. Tora. They hear the scream of the daimyo's wife when her cat escaped again. Or you could catch Tora again, he finishes, trailing off at the end. Sensei, I think we've done enough D-rank missions, can't we take a C-rank one for once? Naruto complains. I don't know Naruto, your teamwork isn't at the level I want it to be. Tenzu replies. Come on sensei, we're ready. You know we can do it. Sakura joins in, giving him her puppy dog eyes. Lord Hokage, are there any C rank missions available for us to take? Tenzu relents. If you're sure they're ready, there is one that they could take. Anbu, please bring Tazuna and. Hiruzen says as his clone does paperwork. A masked Anbu brings in a middle-aged man with grey hair. He was drinking a bottle of sake from the smell of his breath and he looked at the team with derision. I pay for quality protection and you give me a moody emo kid, a little girl, and a blind kid, Tazuna says incredulously and drunkenly. He goes to take another swig of the sake but finds that the neck of the bottle was severed and the rest was in Naruto's hand. You aren't the first to underestimate me, nor will you be the last, but if you want to live I suggest you don't make that mistake, twice. Ichi says quietly. When he spoke quietly was when he was deadly serious, but when he was loud everyone knew he was joking and blustering. Tazuna looks like he wants to wet himself, but doesn't because he thinks Naruto would kill him for that too. Well then, Team 7, your mission is to protect Tazuna here on his way back to his home country and then guard him while he finishes building his bridge. Dismiss. Hiruzen says and then picks up his little orange book. Team 7 pack for a 1-month trip and meet at the main gate in 1 hour. Tenzu says and the team separates to their respective homes. When Naruto was packed he went to the park to kill some time and when he was there he ran into Team 8. Hey Naruto, where are you going? Hinata asks with confidence. Her confidence had grown considerably when she became a shinobi. My team's going a C rank mission to go on and this is what I'm bringing. Naruto replies. A C rank? You guys must be good, Kurenai sensei doesn't want us to go on a C rank mission until we're better in out tracking and team fighting abilities. Shino says. Just don't get yourself killed or I'll have to bring you back to life and kill you, again. Keed says with a smirk. Akamaru yips in her jacket. As Naruto is about to leave, Keed does something unexpected. She kisses Naruto on the cheek and walks away, leaving him standing there blushing for a good 5 minutes before he snaps out of it. He flash steps to the gate to make up for lost time. Approximately 15 minutes later. The genin were all there, just waiting on their sensei to arrive with the clients so they could leave. The two arrive 3 minutes later and they set out in a diamond formation with Sasuke in front, Naruto and Sakura to either side of Tazuna and Tenzu, bringing up the rear at a short distance. Several hours into the 2-day walk, after they pass the border of the land of fire, they pass a puddle of water, which Naruto steps in since it blended in with his picture of spiritual energy. Naruto, watch where you're going, you splashed me, Sakura yells at him irritably. Yeah sure, tell the blind person to watch where he's going. Naruto replies sarcastically and then dodges a punch from Sakura. Then the thought crosses his mind, it hasn't rained in over a week and that puddle was almost in the middle of the road. It should have evaporated by now. As if the universe was waiting for that revelation, two figures rise from the puddle wearing strange headbands with 4 lines on it. They each wore a claw-like gauntlet with a shuriken chain connecting them. They ran forward as Naruto turned around, their chain wrapping around Tenzu. They pulled, shredding him to pieces. Sakura screamed. Naruto summons his bow, aiming it at one of the two, the one with the gauntlet on their right arm. First he shoots the chain, destroying it, and second he shoots the person, but they block with the gauntlet. It cracks all around the point of impact and then is destroyed by another arrow. Sasuke speeds through several hand seals and then calls out. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. A giant ball of flames shoots right at the other person, who dodges to the side and then leaps at Sasuke, claw extended toward him, but is blocked by a kunai. Naruto takes a second to shoot the other person's gauntlet and free up Sasuke before shooting his enemy in the leg, who screams in pain. Sasuke whips through more hand seals and called out another jutsu. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu. Several smaller fireballs race toward the remaining enemy and when he loses sight of Sasuke when he dodges, Sasuke appears behind him and smashes him in the head with a kick, knocking him out. Naruto chops his opponent on the neck as he appeared behind him, knocking him out as well. Who are these guys? Naruto asks, letting his bow disappear. I believe I can shed some light on that one guys. Tenzu says appearing in their midst. Sensei. We thought you were dead, Sakura exclaims. I wanted to see how you guys reacted to a situation like this and for the most part I was pleased. However Sakura, when they attacked and you saw your teammates engage them, you didn't even think to move to protect Azuna. I thought I had trained you better than that. Sakura lowers her head in shame, not meeting her sensei's eyes. We'll have to work on that when we finish this mission. Now Tazuna, would you like to explain as to why there were 2 chunin level rogue ninja here? You said in your mission details that all you expected to encounter were bandits, but when they showed up you didn't seem all too surprised by it. Tenzu says, rounding on their client and pulling his most dramatically scary face. Well you see. Izuna, if you don't start explaining right now and now just passed so you're not talking fast enough. Naruto tells him, his hand moving to the hilt of Suzumushi. Sufficiently scared, he talks. My people could only afford a C-rank mission, but only barely. Our country has been taken over by the Gaten Corporation and he's reduced us to crippling poverty. He begins. Gaten? As in the Gaten Shipping Corporation, Tenzu asks. Yes, he controls the waters around the land of Wave, and since that's the only way for us to transport goods, he essentially controls the country. That's why I need to build this bridge, it will open trade with the mainland without having to pay for Gaten shipping costs, as well as everything else he makes us pay for. Gaten wants to make sure I never finish my bridge, and he would succeed if I don't have your help. Izuna says, pleading with them to help. I don't know, this mission seems out of our league. If that story is true, then these two probably weren't the only ones in Gaten's forces, and probably not the strongest either. Tenzu says, a troubled look on his face. I think we should help them. I'll go on with him with or without the rest of you. Naruto states with a note of finality that Tenzu knew all too well. If he's staying, then so am I can't let a dobe show me up. Sasuke says with a smirk. If Sasuke's going, then I'm going to. Sakura says, her fangirlishness still not completely under control. And you three are set on this? Tenzu asks. Tenzu, you know me well enough, and so you know that nothing you can say or do will get me to change my mind, even if I have to go through you to accomplish this. Naruto tells him, sword slightly drawn. Well, in that case I can either come with you and continue the mission, or go back to the village and have all of you labeled as rogue ninja. Go ahead sensei, nothing short of death will stop me now. Naruto says defiantly. Us to. Sasuke says, exchanging a look with Sakura. Okay, take it easy, I was going to come with you from the start, just another test we give on C-rank mission to new genin teams in the field. Tenzu says, earning a face fault from his students, who then get up and glare at him angrily. Well Izuna, lead on, we're behind schedule now. A day and a half later. The team was walking through a lush forest, following the trail in front of them near the water. So how far away are we from your home? Izuna, Sakura asks, breaking the slightly oppressive silence. Well, we should be there in a few. Izuna is cut off by Naruto firing an arrow into the thick bushes by the side of the path. A snow-white bunny hops out and Sakura picks him up. What did you do that for, Naruto? You scared this cute little bunny. Sakura says, stroking it. Naruto dismissed the bunny, but Sasuke and Tenzu have the same thought then. That bunny's white, but it's the middle of summer, it should have shed its winter coat. That means it was kept inside, but why? Their question is answered in the form of a whirring sound coming towards them, which Naruto sees first, since it came from behind them. At down he shouts, dragging Izuna to the ground. The others hit the deck just as a giant Zanbatsu flies over them. Well, what do we have here? I don't think I've ever heard of you, little Jonin, but no matter, you'll die just the same as all the others. A man says, chuckling as he lands on the giant sword. He has pale skin and dark spiky hair and very small eyebrows over his brown eyes. His mouth and nose are covered by a mask-like covering of bandages. He wears no shirt, only having a belt across his chest, presumably to carry the sword he was standing on. Zabuza Mamachi, former member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Hidden Mist and Anbu Class A ranked rogue ninja. Stay back and guard Izuna, let me handle him. Tenzu says, pulling out 2 kunai. Ahaha, you think you'll actually defeat me, do you? Well, you should know that my blade never cuts twice before you make a big mistake. If you give me the old man, I'll agree to let you and the little kitties go. Zabuza says before catching a shuriken. He turns to Sasuke, who had thrown it. We are ninja of the hidden leaf, and you will treat us like it. Sasuke says, his tone marked with anger at being called a kid. You think you can call yourselves ninja? When you've hovered between life and death so many times that it doesn't faze you, you may be called a ninja. When you've become so deadly that your profile has been entered into my bingo book, then you may have earned the title ninja, but not before. He says, and then wrenches his sword out of the tree with no apparent effort. Hidden mist jutsu, he calls out, and the clearing is obscured by a thick chakra-infused mist. Keep your guard up and keep Izuna safe. He could be anywhere in this mist. Tenzu tells them, though his voice doesn't carry very far. 8 points: larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidney, heart. Now, which will be my attack point of attack? Zabuza asks aloud from within the mist. Wood style. Dome wall, Tenzu call out, covering his team's back so they don't need to worry about it. Naruto instinctively turns and draws Sakanade at the same time, slashing at the figure that had appeared behind them. It explodes into water and he turns back around as he sees Tenzu get cut in 2, only to reveal a wood clone. I'm sick of this mist. Collapse Sakanade, Naruto calls out, and the rush of spiritual pressure blows the mist away from him, clearing a substantial area. Sakanade now is floating around Naruto's hand. The first few inches of the blade are covered by an extension of the crossguard, and the blade itself is straight and slim, with a tip ending and a slanted razor-like edge. There are 5 holes at intervals along the blade. Impressive boy, but how are you going to use it without gripping it? Zabuza asks with a maniacal chuckle, appearing on the small expanse of water that wasn't covered by mist. You should concern yourself with me instead of my students. Tenzu says, appearing behind him and slashing at him with both kunai. Zabuza dodges and waits for Tenzu's foot to touch the water. Water style. Water prison jutsu, he calls out, forming a floating ball of water around Tenzu, trapping him, though it does take away one of his hands from the battle. Water clone jutsu, he calls, and has the clone attack the genin, though Naruto stops him from advancing too far. Their blades meet in a clash of sparks. He's so strong, Naruto thinks to himself, his blade being slowly pushed back. He jumps back. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp tower, red crystal, steel ring. Move and become the wind, stop and become the calm. The sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Head number 63 Rakem, he exclaims, shooting the yellow lightning from his outstretched hand, obliterating the clone. Well, first a wood-style user, and now this. I think I might let you guys live so I can fight you again, but then again if I did, I wouldn't get paid. Zabuza says. Naruto doesn't respond in anger, only in battle. Be Lord. Mask of flesh and bone, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. Truth and temperance, upon this sinless wall of dreams unleash, but slightly the wrath of your claws. Hadm, number 33 Sankatsui. He calls out, shooting the technique at Zabuza, whose eyes widened. He couldn't block it all, and judging from its eyes, it was powerful enough to hurt him. He did the only thing he could. He let go of the water prison, dumping Tenzu into the lake, and dodged the attack. Tenzu resurfaced and gasped for air. Sensei, leave this to me. Naruto calls to Tenzu as Sakanade starts to spin around his outstretched hand, and then released a pink mist into the area around him, and Zabuza instinctively took a breath of the sweet-smelling substance. What, you think I'm going to die from a little sweet smell? Even if it's poisoned, I'm probably immune, he exclaims, battle hazing his mind slightly. Naruto goes in close and slashes. Zabuza moves to parry, but instead of moving to his left where Naruto was, he moved to the right, leaving him open to the wound that was then inflicted. This happened 2 more times before he questioned it. What did you do to me, he growls. It's my blade's special ability, whoever smells the mist is trapped in my inverted world. Up and down, left and right as well as forward and backward are reversed. However, it is not just the sense of direction that is changed, the opponent's eyesight, direction of incoming attacks, and injury locations are also inverted. Even if one is accustomed to fighting in that particular way, their body will not adapt and will continue to fight by reflex, which causes it to continuously succumb to the power's effect. Naruto tells him as he moves for the killing blow. He doesn't get it as 2 senbon needles enter Zabuza's neck and he falls over, unmoving. Naruto checks his pulse, he's dead. Then a masked person appears next to the body, picking it up, as well as the sword, and disappears without a word. Naruto makes to go after them, but Tenzu stops him with a hand on his shoulder. Don't worry, that was one of the Mist Hunter ninja, they're like our Anbu, but they only hunt down rogue ninja. Now let's keep going, we need to rest now, especially you Naruto, good job. Tenzu says. If you're sure sensei. Naruto says with a sense of foreboding. Azuna leads them to the end of the path they had been walking on, to meet a small boat with a covered engine and a worried-looking man. Azuna, I didn't think you were coming, and I heard a commotion a little while ago. I was going to leave in a few more minutes. It's not safe here anymore. Ichi says as they get in. That commotion was us, we ran into a bit of a problem on the way here, but these ninja took care of it. Azuna says as the man pushes off of the shore with an oar. The rest of the trip is made in complete silence, and once they're on shore the man starts off again without a word, moving as quickly as he could while still being silent. Follow me, it's not much farther. Azuna says, walking briskly down the shore. They turn around a bend in the shoreline which reveals the incomplete bridge into town. Wow, that bridge is huge. Sakura whispers in awe. Thank you, I wanted it to be as large and hard to destroy as possible, but I had to tone it down a little for time issues. Azuna says, bragging a little. It's very impressive. Naruto comments, but has a bad feeling, something was going to happen, but what it was he didn't know. He had swapped out Sakanade for Suzumushi, as he was better for stealth and infiltration missions. Azuna takes a path on the docks when they reach them, walking purposefully toward a house built over the water. Creek. Naruto and Tenzu, walking in the back of the group, whip around and block several kunai aimed at the group's back. Sasuke and Sakura move to protect Azuna, while Tenzu makes a hand sign. Naruto counts 2 assailants, both wielding katana attached to their right arms, seemingly growing out of them. Wood style. 4-pillar prison jutsu, he exclaims, his hands in the snake seal. The wood beneath the 2 attackers erupts, trapping them in a cage of wood stronger than steel. Their eyes glow like molten metal and a green energy comes off of them and that is what shocks Naruto the most. They're using spirit energy? He asks himself incredulously. Only the Namikaze and the Uzumaki have ever been able to wield spirit energy. How did these two have it? He had no more time to think as the energy stopped flowing and they hacked at the prison around them, managing to break through. But Tenzu exclaims. No one had ever broken through that technique with just a sword before, the only person ever to break it was Naruto, and he was also using a technique. Naruto intercepts one of the two, their swords clashing fiercely. They begin a deadly dance of blades, blocking, parrying, slashing and lunging, and each time it was blocked or dodged just for something else to take its place. Tenzu trapped his opponent in a spiral pillar of wood and knocked him out for questioning, putting a sleep seal on him before closing the wood around him to conceal him from the world, but leaving a space for air. Then he turned to Naruto. For some reason he didn't go to his student's aid. "Sensei, why aren't you helping him?" Sakura asks in a quiet voice. "It's a matter of pride for a swordsman like Naruto. If we help he won't thank us, he'll just see it as a dishonor." Tenzu tells her. "That's insane, he could get himself killed and you'd just stand here watching." Tazuna exclaims. "I've known Naruto for many years, long before I was his sensei, and from what I know, he won't let an enemy as weak as this one defeat him." Then they watch in silence as the two continue their dance, connecting and separating with blinding speed, sparks forming where the blades clashed, but neither showed signs of giving up any time soon. Then the man jumps back and the green energy appears traveling to the sword again. His eyes glow like molten metal again and he prepares to charge again, but before he does, he stops. He looks at the sword connected to his arm and then screams. The base of the sword, which seemed like tentacles wrapped around his entire arm, going farther up, eventually covering his whole torso, leaving only his head exposed. Then he exploded. No one saw it coming, so Naruto was blown into the water and Tenzu barely made a dome around the rest of them to protect them from the fallout. Naruto resurfaces to see part of the dock destroyed and another part burning. He pulls himself up onto the dock and lay there for a minute, heaving in air. "Naruto, are you okay?" Tenzu asks, letting the dome fall apart around them. When the team sees the damage their mouths gape open. They hear a door creak open, spilling yellow light out into the world. "Father? Is that you?" a female voice asks from the doorway. The group turns to see a woman with bluish hair, about 5 feet tall standing there. "Tsunami, is that you?" Tazuna asks, walking a bit closer. The woman rushes out to hug Tazuna and he hugs back happily. "I'm so glad you're back, I was worried about you." "Who are these people?" the woman asks. "Oh right. Tsunami, these are the ninja I hired to protect me. They're very strong, maybe even strong enough to take Gaten down once and for all." Tazuna says, presenting the travel-weary team. "Oh well then you should all come inside, I bet you're all tired and hungry. Dinner is on the table, but I don't know if it's enough for everyone." Tsunami says regretfully, but Tenzu waves it off. "Whatever you can spare, we'll eat gladly." Tenzu says, leading his team inside after Tsunami and Tazuna enter. They eat a decent meal, though it wasn't big. They also met Inari, Tsunami's son and Tazuna's grandson. He didn't talk, only glared at the team from under his hat before going to his room. "Well, that was a good meal, thank you Tsunami for your hospitality." Tenzu tells her before turning to his team. "I've doing a lot of thinking while we were eating and after we question our prisoner outside tomorrow, since he's not going anywhere, I need to train you guys up." "For what, Sensei?" Sakura asks. "I was thinking about that hunter ninja that took Zabuza's body away. They're supposed to cut off the head and dispose of the body as soon as they find their target, but that one took the whole body with them. At the time I thought they just didn't want to do it in front of potentially enemy ninja, but now I don't think that's the case." Tenzu tells them, getting different reactions from each of them. Sakura looks scared of what he might say next. Sasuke looked indifferent and Naruto didn't have any readable emotions, though on the inside he was ecstatic that he might get to fight again. "Are you saying what I think you are, Sensei?" Naruto asks. "Maybe, who can tell me what weapons the hunter ninja used?" Tenzu asks. "Senbon needles, but they aren't used for combat, mostly they're used for acupuncture and other medical practices." Sasuke responds. "Yes, and using those needle you can hit certain points on the body to simulate death, if only temporarily. I believe that Zabuza is still alive and that he'll be coming back soon." Tenzu says with a sense of unease. "Then we'll be ready for him, Sensei." Naruto responds smirking. Little did they know they were being watched by someone much stronger than Zabuza, one who was getting more interested in this team the longer they stayed around them. "Lord Orochimaru will be pleased with the results of his experiment." The person says, piercing the wood around the trapped man, killing him, and collecting the sword. They already had the first sword and now with both in tow, their body flickered away to report the results. What if Naruto has bankai and chunin exams council bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.